Wow, 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 wow. Fresh bag on me right now, right now. Throw it up while you bust down, bust down. I'm just trying to blow your back out, back out. Wow, 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 wow. Fresh bag on me right now, right now. Throw it up while you bust down, bust down. I'm just trying to blow your back out, back out. See my ex sing hanging with a plan B. That way she wouldn't have the man I can be. Need Jessica, Olivia, and Ashley. Kelly's really out the window like a banshee. Got him singing like a siren. Man, I'm shipwrecked, living on an island. Push down, I don't care about the timing. Always been perfect when the road is so blinded. Yeah, the sun's so, I'm a shawty. In the end though, in the end though. I'm so close to hitting my goals. In the end zone, in the end zone. Double back to back, go sipping Merlot. I don't just echo, bitch, I'm ghetto. Zambian eagle, I'm a rebel. Playing with a hard string like a cello, yeah, yeah. Double back to back, go sipping Merlot. I don't just echo, bitch, I'm ghetto. Zambian eagle, I'm a rebel. Playing with a hard string like a cello, yeah, yeah. Wow, 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 wow. Fresh bag on me right now, right now. Blow it up while you bust down, bust down. I'm just trying to blow your back out, back out. Bust down, bust down. I'm just trying to blow you back down. See me coming for the win, coming for the exit, coming for the kid. Shit, but I'm coming for the king. Double on my stats, coming for the ring, coming for the rings. Double on my sins, killing no sheep. Fire on the beat, bitch from the goat. Take back roads, born with the Spurs. Bring your ass hurt. Fuck living cautious and lawless. Had a rival wave, now they all sick. When I finally make it, yeah, we all did. Split the dividends and we all in. Wow, 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 wow. Fresh bag on me right now. Throw it up while you bust down, bust down. I'm just trying to blow your back down, back down. Wow, 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 wow. Fresh bag on me right now, right now. Throw it up while you bust down, bust down. I'm just trying to blow your back down, back down.
Trying to do this last week and it didn't fucking happen because live streaming is difficult and I am getting used to everything. How are you going? What is good, everybody? My name is Tom, aka Dear, and this is Dear Plus, a show where I take you through my process and talk about everything music, everything Dear. Everything that's everything. Now, apologies for those who watched last week. I had to delete all those videos because it was a nightmare of a situation. I had all the settings wrong. I thought I could just jump right into streaming again after taking a break for like a few weeks, and everything was wrong. So, yes, apologies for that. However, we were going to try this again. I've made sure to spend some time to make sure I've figured it all out before going live, and it should be all good. Let me know in the comments if there is something amiss. We'll try and make everything work, but from what I can tell, we're running quite smoothly, which is bellissimo. So, today I wanted to take you through this beat that I made with my good friend Kuka. Aka KVKA, aka Angry Boy KVKA, Angry Boy Kuka, whatever you want to call him. I sometimes just call him KV. But yeah, he released a song called Wow, which is out everywhere, Spotify, iTunes, blah blah blah. Let's pull it up right now, shall we? And I produced this song. I guess with him, he was in the room when we did it. We'd been doing a bunch of sessions together. And, oh, you can't even see that because my face is in the way. There you go. Wow. Check it out. It's great. Will it play through here? It does. Whoa, crazy. No, it doesn't. Hold on. Never mind. Anyway, I need to just concentrate on Ableton. So, yes, we released this song called Wow, which you just heard in the thing, in the brief countdown to the stream starting. And yeah, I just want to walk you through, sort of like talk you through some decisions. I think we made this beat in we made it in a day, but there's some kind of interesting stuff about it. Maybe we should just get started, shall we? I've also, apologies for not streaming in a while. I've been very busy. I'm in a band called Curves, which I also played. We just released a song called Stallone, which I also played before WoW, in the intro before the show. And we just released a video clip for that, which is also exciting. So go check that out. Just type in Curves Stallone on YouTube, and it should come up. Okay, let's get to this beat. So, I've kind of like muted the vocals because it's gonna be difficult. I guess I can take you through the vocals, but I've just like kind of frozen them to make sure my computer doesn't overheat and completely die and, you know, all that jazz. Let me disable that preview and go over here. Great. Okay, so how did this beat start? It started not like this beat at all. We had this. Me and KV had been making beats or making songs together for a few weeks. I had met him through a few mutual friends of mine, Hancock and my friend Joe, and we had been working all together on making stuff for KV's an album or some sort of release. I don't think it was fully formed at that point. And we were sort of experimenting with a bunch of different stuff. We'd been making a bunch of hard stuff, and then we made this one song that was more chill, and we kind of liked that idea. And so when I asked if he wanted to make music this day, I think I was trying to aim towards going towards some of that like singy, songy, less rappy, but more like soulful stuff. So I got up the Juno in the studio that I was in, and we were playing around, and I think I came up with these chords. And I remember KV being like, yeah, they're cool chords, I like those. And so we played around with them, but initially, which ends up being in the end of the song, I had this like idea to do this like kind of, I don't even know what style. It's like funky with like a bass guitar. Let me turn this limit on. So we were kind of like vibing out on that sort of thing. And then KV was like, that ain't it. I remember that. And I was like, damn. But he still liked these chords. And he's like, there's something in those chords, but I just don't think that is it. And then I think we mentioned we were listening to like Travis Scott or something maybe similar. I don't really know. But I shifted gears and went with like more of a rappy type beat. And I remember how I usually make beats like on this channel. When I'm making beats, I'm usually just like adding one layer at a time. And so usually I'll add a clap, then percussion, then probably some hats, and then extra synths. And at that point, we've kind of got like a little bit of a vibe going. I actually don't think this synth was in. It probably would have just been DX and the Juno. And then these bells would have been added later. But you know, you need to create a vibe, I guess. I don't know. What are these and then I think I added an 808. Yeah, it would have been something like that. And I think at that point we were like, okay, this is kind of cool. And at that point, I think KV would have had some ideas. He'd be writing down some stuff, kind of telling me, yeah, I like this, I don't like that. And then I can't even remember. This song is this wasn't the original 808 either. This is like a weird 808, which I don't even know what it is. But this is like my mix file. So I did a little bit of a mix, and then our friend Joe did the final mix, which is like he's done like an incredible job at the final mix. And I'm so glad that I didn't make it because, well, I didn't mix it because he's just made it. You know, when you get too close to things, and I don't know, after listening to this one and then listening to the final one, it's like night and day, crazy. I remember also adding the stab in. Where is that? So then I guess at that point, I remember we put in an 808, which is not this one. It would have been, it might be, yeah, I think it was this one. Something similar to that, but it just wasn't knocking hard enough. So when I mixed it, I did a new 808. But I remember when we were first making it, we were like, we got to the point where we sort of like had everything in and we recorded everything, and we were like, whoa, this is so sick. And then we finished the session, and then I came back to it like the next day and realized that the 808s were completely out of tune. And so I had to redo them. And just, yeah, I was like appalled with myself because it was just so funny how vibey it was in the studio. And we're like, whoa, this is such a sick song. And then like the 808s are not even in tune. So I don't know. Anyway, the vibe was still there. But alas, the 808s have been tuned. And then I don't really know where I got this intro bass from. Kind of works nicely. Kind of has this like juxtaposition from night and day sort of thing, where like this. I guess that's somewhat interesting to talk about. Is like, in music, sometimes you want to create. Not necessarily a journey, but like if you have something that is of a more major key or more light sounding, contrasting that with like a darker section can be interesting. And I think that's probably what I did here, where we've got this like classic reversed synth. That's what the ghost thing is doing here. Just ducking. I wish I could take you through that. That's like... Let's do that real quick. So that would have just been me playing around on something like this. Let's see if I can get this in. Whoa. Good old Juno. Okay. What do we got here? Dun, dun. So that would have just been, I reckon, me playing. What are the chords? I don't even know. It would have been the bass line. I can't even do it. Mamma mia. There's a bit of lag on my thing. Maybe if I change this, we'll see. Will it destroy our stream? Hello, you still there? Yes? Great. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So I would have just played that like somewhat up here. Let's just record that in, right? There we go. And then I probably would have reversed that and made sure that it was on the thing. So then we get this thing. Just so like this. And it sounds like it was pitched up. And now for the ever so magical, one of my favorite plugins, the crystallizer. You already are getting a sense of that mystifying, that chorusy. It's like a, I don't know how to describe it. A chorusy delay type thing. And the one that I like to use is this in D-tune double Corster. Immediately makes it sound like wild, dreamy. It even sounds like it's even higher. Something like that. I feel like maybe I even, sometimes I do that, and then on my reverb, there we go. And then after all that, then you chuck a, so the reason why I had this, which you can't even hear because it's muted, but it's just a hi-hat that allows you to sidechain if you turn it off. So you're not actually hearing it, it's off already. And then you hit sidechain, and then you find ghost hi-hat. There you go. Now you've got this like jittered effect. Jittered effect? But it actually sounds like it's just going, we're up, we're up. 1, 2, 3, 4, So I don't know what this is doing. It's half time. Let's just do this. Change it from beats to complex. And that should make it sound a little bit. Sidechain. Bit different, maybe different chords, but you get the idea. A little bit more finesse. I mean, I did this in what, 2 minutes? You know what I would have even done? I probably would have done... So you've got all these... I probably would have gone through... And if we just go select all on the thing, you can go... Not set here. Quantize. There we go. And then I would have gone through and done this on each one. So picked out the actual notes. So, because obviously when you reverse the whole thing, you the last note you played will end up being the first note. But if you want the pattern to be the same, but just the sound to be reversed, you got to go through and pick out each individual one and then hit reverse. So you have the same notes in a line, but they just all sound reversed, which sometimes I do, but usually that's like a particular choice. Usually I'll try and reverse it first, unless I know that it's not going to work. So something like this. Sounds cool. So yeah, that's that sort of sound. I should just show the thing. So reverse, crystallizer, reverb, and then send it to a sidechain compressor, and hey presto, you get that sort of sound. Let's delete that. Now react the bass. This looks like it was done on a Juno similar to this, but a Juno 6, I think, or Juno 60. I can't remember what it is. So it's a little bit different, but you just get that nice patty, fat, chorusy bass. And then this is just something from Reactor. I don't know what the preset would be called. I can take off these plugins to show you how it sounded originally. Just added some space, some distortion, a little saturation. So I guess those two layered together, you get the reactor bass, the soft synth, is taking care of a lot of like the middle, whereas this is actually maybe it's the opposite. I guess they're occupying a similar register. I don't know, layering basses is nice. But then, so going back to the idea of night and day, light and dark, whatever, you get this transition that's like this nice build up, and all of a sudden it kind of drops into this like more major sounding doubling the time. Dun, 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 dun. Keeping some elements the same, adding this like little pad thing. Wow. Helps to find the key a little bit. KV is so fast at writing lyrics as well. And then you bring back that bass, and now you've got this mesh of light and day. That's probably a good thing to mention is like the difference. I think the main thing that I struggle with when making music or when finalizing music, I think is I don't know, it's like bass sounds, like that low mid range of like trying to get something that's interesting but that's punchy at the same time, and that doesn't. I find that I can fall into the same sounds quite often when I'm making music when I'm making bass lines, because obviously you have like these two basses that we have here, which I'll just solo. This is doing a kind of different task than what the 808 is doing. The 808 is kind of like adding bounce to it, whereas like this initial bass is kind of like adding more of a building thing. So I think having a difference in bass lines, or understanding when an 808 should come in and when a bigger, fatter bass comes in is something to think about. But that's usually what usually I can add top synths and like shit like this, like this, all this shit up here. Like I can just keep adding and adding. It's like there's never a problem for me to think of like another line. That doesn't sound good, but you know what I mean. Like there's usually a lot of room that you can do a bunch of shit. So like in this one, we've got this playing, this one. Like just a bunch of layers. But with bass, you need to be kind of weary about how many layers you have, and like I think a lot of the work needs to be done by one or two synths rather than, I mean, in this case it's just the 808 taking care of like the entire low end, and then everything else is like scooped out. So like nothing is really happening below 100 hertz in this at all, and then everything in here is just bass. I don't really know what I'm trying to say. I guess what I'm trying to say is that maybe it's easier to fill space with layering, and then when you're having to concentrate on making a clear, thick, punchy, bouncy bass tone, I find that's where I'm spending most of my time, getting that solidness to sit properly and to, I guess, work properly. And I really do like how these parts kind of add together, create something interesting, and then it ends up going to the chorus here, where it's just like down. But you still have like that same energy, I guess. What have I done in the drums? I find percussion as well kind of helps. Percussion definitely helps with like the bounce of it, or I guess the rhythm. Because if you don't have stuff in between, it's kind of just a 1, 2, 1, 2. But then you add the percussion in. 8, 2, and kind of get that flow more. Harp is interesting. I think I was really trying to get that Travis Scotty type. I've actually got a better synth if I was to do this again. Let's pull that up. See what that sounds like. Tom synths. It's in organs. Tame Impala harpsichord. Boom. Dun. What are the chords? It's in. Is it in D, mate? D. Come on, man. Too much release though. Let's bring this bad boy over. Key harpsichord. You can copy these settings if you want this type of Travis Scott thing. I got the good old RC20 retro color, adding a bit of wobble. But I don't like how. There we go. Doesn't sound like it's in. I don't know what key this is in. Anyway, you get the idea. Layering, layering, layering. And then I have very cheesy trap style horn. That's maybe another thing to talk about is composition, and then I'll get onto the vocals, I guess. Maybe. I don't really know what to say about the vocals. But I guess I don't necessarily follow a philosophy on composition, but I think if you're trying to do a pop type thing with multiple choruses, potentially some form of bridge, like a verse, chorus with a pre-chorus in or whatever. I find that creating, if I was to make this beat, I think I would try and start to make this whole section first. So I probably would have had at a certain point this, and these. And then now that I have like that section, you'll kind of notice that like things sort of, like once the Juno horns and the DX7 come in, they don't come out until the end of the song. When the ramp synth is like played again, all these things are nothing's really playing only once. Like even this sound at the start, I managed to fit in like this bridge section. So I guess you really, pop songs and like I guess songs that are structured in this way really only have 2 or 3 kind of sections, and once you figured out, and those sections can just purely be like the chorus but without this one single element, or the chorus without the kick, or the chorus without the snare, or the chorus without the bass, the 808 or whatever. And I think once you realize that, you can kind of structure together songs quickly, and then it's about like finessing how things go into each other. So how the verse goes into the chorus, how the verse goes into the pre-chorus, how the bridge extends, and then like the release at the end. Because I don't know, bridges tend to have more of a an intense, not climax, but like tension. I like using the word tension when I'm describing bridges, because you kind of want to take it away from the rest of the song and then bring everything back. So in this instance, I guess we kind of use this section. I'll bring the vocals in so you can
go take back roads.
So there you go. So we've had
see my bust down. I'm just trying to blow your back up.
Maybe we get into anyway.
Bitch from go take back roads. Bond with Spurs. Bring ass hurt. Fuck living.
So I would say this section kind of works as a, what does this work as? I guess maybe it works as a pre-chorus. What's the pre-chorus? The pre-chorus. Bust down.
I'm just trying to blow your back. Wow.
That's kind of the chorus.
See my ex sing hanging with a push down, don't care about it. Hit a sensor, I'm a shawty in the end zone. Double back to back, go sipping Merlot. I don't just echo, bitch, I'm ghetto. Zambian Negro, I'm a rebel. Playing with all things like a cello. Yeah. Double back to back, go sipping Merlot.
Alright, so that's the pre-chorus, right?
Double back to back, go. Fuck living cautious, I'm lawless. Had to ride a wave, now they all sick. When I finally make it, yeah, we all did. Split the dividends and we all rich. Wow. Fresh bag on me right now. Throw it up while you bust down. I'm just trying to blow your back up.
Slide that for a bit. Anyway, I think in this section I wanted there to be some extra tension, and so I changed the chords. I remember doing this. So the chords are usually doing like dun, dun, dun. So that's like adding in a note that's not necessarily in the key of whatever key we're in. I don't know what we're in. Are we in A minor? Who knows? But there's like that kind of that wants to resolve to dun, dun, dun. So I don't know. That's something to think about if you're struggling to. I'm trying to say too many things at once. Essentially, this whole song has a lot of repeating things, and then that thing happens once, but it is like a moment in the song that creates this tension that then gets paused and then released. And then obviously usually a bridge happens before the final chorus. Therefore, you kind of get that final release of tension. And that's another interesting thing as well. I guess the basses combine there, which is for an even different, more detailed bass line than we've ever heard before. So usually the bass line is but now here we got So what we've done, this is interesting. I don't know if you can hear that. You should be able to if you've got good speakers. But so we have the original bass line, and now we've transitioned the 808 bass line into the But now you get this like kind of epic. It's not just the bass, not just the 808 doing the heavy lifting of the vocals. everything. And at that point, it maybe becomes a little bit overwhelming. But because it's like the end of the song, I don't really care. It's like that part can be a little bit messy because it's like almost all falling apart at that point. You get this like massive release. Like, yeah! And it's like, how can we maximize it even more? It's like add more bass. Not really add more bass, but add more detail in the noise. And then we fall in on this. Cool. I haven't really talked about my relation. I got a question on my Instagram about how I relate my kick and my 808s and how I sort of pair them together. So I guess I'll go over that quickly. The truth is, it takes the same with like writing bass lines in general. Getting the right 808 takes a long fucking time for me. Not a long, depends. Sometimes I hit the nail on the head right on the first go, but usually I have a hard time finding something that I like that gives me everything that I want. So, for example, I showed you the older 808, which is this one. And whilst it sounds fine, like soloed, it wasn't giving me. I didn't like the like the pitch drop at the start. I wanted something that was maybe a little bit more thicker, a little bit more detailed. Not detailed, but like predominant in that low end thing. And so I tried adding a top bass just by duplicating it and doing some like distorted stuff to it. So you kind of get that top end, but to me it sounds a little artificial. And even there I did it more and I just did not like that at all. So I ended up really like diving in and choosing another 808, which I ended up going with this one, which to be honest, listening to the difference, this one sounds much plainer, but the energy of the low end is much more consistent. And clearly I've done a lot of EQing. Let's have a look and see what I've done. So I'm not a mix engineer by any means. So anything that I've done could be considered completely wrong. And I'm okay with that because I understand that I don't know what I'm doing. However, I know what I like. And what I like in my 808s, let's take off all these. Holy shit. It's a lot of stuff. Let's take off everything and see what the fuck I've done. So I don't know if you can hear that, it's quite low. But it sounds a lot different. Hell of a lot different. It's completely different. I don't know how I managed to start with that and go, this is what I want. Anyway, let's take a walk down what we've got. Okie dokie. I think at this point I was kind of just like, I need to just do it. So R bass kind of, I don't really use R bass often, but I think here I was just wanting to intensify the whole thing in general. Usually I'll use a limiter, which I've got down here, which we'll get to. So that's doing a hell of a lot. I don't use this often either. So this is a multi-band, what do you call this? Multi-band harmonic exciter. And what I'm doing is really saturating. But what what that does is almost turn it from an 808 into just a subby bass, which I guess was what I was doing. And then good old Pultec. Let's just close these. Pultec EQ. This is a really great plugin. I constantly use it on basses to get more low end, and usually I'll have it on 60, but I don't know why I've got it on 30. I guess it's less intense, but you can boost this, and at 10 it will sound good, you know, and then obviously it'll probably be too much, so you dial it back to however much you want, and then you can add some high ends over here with whatever frequency band you want. But I constantly, if I'm like trying to find to try and create an 808 that is like constant, I find that bumping the low end at around 60 or 30, usually 60 is the key, but today I went 30 on this one, really helps like get that low end to be nice and constant. And sometimes you'll if you've got a dancing an 808 that's kind of like dancing around the field, so you know, going from an F up into an E, almost an octave above, you kind of have these frequencies that are hitting harder in certain things. So obviously you want to compress, but I find that adding this like low shelf really kind of helps keep those frequencies all at the same volume. So there we are here, and now this is interesting. I've done what I've tried to do here, which is add a little bit of distortion to the top mids. So essentially you can just create a group and then make multiple chains. So this one is just the low, and then this one I've just isolated the kind of MIDI range and tried to distort that a hell of a lot, which you can see we're all the way in the red up into 8.5, and then drop the volume on that to obviously bring that in. You can, it's subtle, but it's adding kind of like a texture in the thing that will potentially help stand out. And then here I've clearly made sure that things are in phase. Here we go. There you go. That sounds weird. That's what I wanted. Phase is important. It's a bit complicated to explain. I don't really know it all, but I know that if things are sounding weird, try flipping the phase and see if that does anything. And then we've got Fab Filter Q. What's this doing? Just taking out. This is making room for the kick. That's another thing. I was really trying to make this kick work with the 808, because the kick has a lot of energy already with the kind of low 100, really hits you in the chest. So I didn't want that to escape. I wanted the kick to maintain doing that whilst the 808 sat underneath that. So taking out some, what's that, 117 hertz, I don't know, apparently that was a ticket. And good old limiter, again trying to make everything sound as even as possible. And that comes in, limiting quite a lot. I don't really care though. I mean, I obviously care, but there's not the attack. All the attack is coming from this kick, which I think is, I guess, the main issue that I had with the original one is you already have such a heavy kick in this one already that when you pair it with the kick, it's like the kick's not doing nearly as much compared to kick is like doing a lot more. So I'm squashing the hell out of it with the limiter. Not the hell, I'm squashing it a lot. But it kind of helps with the kick coming through and again leveling everything out so it's nice and even. And then here I've done, oh, this is interesting. More saturation. Oh, what? I think I wanted to add more saturation, but I haven't. What the hell? Oh, okay. Interesting. So I've used this plugin to solo. This is stupid. So using the multiband, I wouldn't do this if I was you. I wouldn't recommend doing this. So sometimes to isolate a specific area, you'll use like an EQ or something to figure out the bands and like target the specific band that you want. And so with this, I was obviously like fucking around with stuff and realized that this is the thing that I wanted to target, I guess. I don't know, what is this? Yeah. So you can see here I've soloed 1, 2, 3 here, and then not soloed that, and then soloed this one here. So I'll show you. So that's a large majority of it. But that little section is where the kick is supposed to be. So the kick is sitting anywhere between, let's pull this up, hold on. The kick is sitting anywhere between 92 Hertz and 204 Hertz. And that is what I'm sidechaining out. So that's like, fuck, that's pretty full on. I don't usually do that, but it's interesting. Because obviously, if you look at this kick on a, on this, let's just pull this up, shall we? I guess the large amount of energy that we're dealing with in the kick is anywhere between, 90 to 200 in this area here. In this area, kind of like here, right? And so, if I want that kick to come through the 808, but have the 808 still sitting there, I guess my brain was like, well, why don't I just isolate that section where the kick is, which is this section here, and then use my sidechain compressor to duck that, and then leave everything else. Ooh. And so what we're left with is a punchy kick and a fat 808. Wow, what a lot of things. I would say that I don't usually do this much stuff on my kicks when I'm mixing usually. But I guess that's one thing to talk about is like when I'm mixing, I try not to like it sounds a bit wanky, but I'm not critically thinking too much. I'm more just kind of like acting on how I'm feeling or how I listen to things and then I react to them rather than being like I listen to it and go, how does this sound to me? What do I want to do? I kind of just like, I've obviously, this is so weird coming back and looking at it because I don't remember doing it at all. But clearly I was fucking around with like trying to isolate where the kick was on this plugin and being like, oh, that's it. Let's, just use 2 of the same plugins to isolate and then use that. Anyway, weird, but again, what it works. This is what you're left with. It's an 808. You definitely hear that kick. But again, I did this mix purely for, I don't know, wanting to do the mix, to have fun with it. And Joe ended up doing a different job. So all of this, I didn't send this to Joe. Like, this is all the stems that I'm using here. I would have sent to Joe, but I didn't send him like all this shit. This is just me being a crazy person. Yes. So that's, I guess, the relationship between the 808 and the kick that we've talked about. It's all about sort of, you don't want, especially in the low end, it's all about phase. It's all about like the specific frequencies. You don't want to be crowding it. You want to be scooping and making sure that everything sort of like fits together nicely in an organic way, more so than, you know, unfortunately, if you get into all the physics, all the, I guess it's physics. What is it? The ways in which sound waves work. You have a sine wave, and if you add another layer that has a very similar sine wave or a sine wave that's exactly the opposite, it will cancel out completely. So you may think you're adding more bass when actually you're just taking bass out. So you want to be careful be weary of where certain things are sitting. And I guess that's the art of mixing with everything, in that you just want everything to be hitting as hard as possible. And so scooping out actually is better than adding. Cool. Let's look at the vocals for a second.
Fresh bag on me right now.
So when I'm recording with KV, I know we've done a lot of stuff here, but I wouldn't really talk about them. Well, I'm not great at mixing vocals, I think. I'm still trying to figure it out. But yeah, when KV has a pretty solid idea of where he wants to double things, where he wants to harmonize, where he wants to double track, where he wants to, you know, add an ad-lib track. And so usually I'm just sort of there with a number of tracks ready. Usually I'll bounce the beat and create a new project and then have like a shit ton of audio tracks because I'm keeping every single one. And we'll go through and we'll record the parts that he wants to record. So usually it's like a verse, and then at the end of the verse he'll kind of have an idea of what he wants the chorus to sound like. So I think he
Wow. Fresh bag on me right now. Throw it up while you bust down. I'm just trying to blow your back out. See my ex thing hanging with a plan B.
Yeah, I think he had this idea first.
See my ex thing hanging with a plan B. That waste you have the man I can be. Need Jessica, Olivia, and Ashley. Kelly's wailing out the window like a banshee. Got him singing like a siren. Man, I'm shipwrecked.
So like this is all. Actually, I don't think it is all one take. I can't remember. I would have maybe cut it up. But you know, we'll record this and then he'll have this.
See my ex thing hanging with a plan B. That waste you have the man I can be. Need Jessica, Olivia, and Ashley. Kelly's wailing out the window like a banshee. Got him singing like a siren. Man, I'm ship.
So I'm just using Waves Tune. Let's unfreeze this for a moment. These are my settings. I like 7/7. There you go, D minor. I don't think it's in D minor. Anyway, D minor worked. Interesting. And I've pretty much just got the same settings for everything. Usually, so when I'm recording, I have this plugin called JJP. Usually I'll create a bunch of tracks, and then on the group I'll group all the tracks, and then on the group of the tracks I'll throw the Waves Tune first, which is this, and then obviously set 7, and then set whatever key it's in. So for this one it was D minor, and then after that I like this JJP vocals plugin, which I wouldn't ever use for mixing, but it gets it has like everything. It has like compression, EQ. There's this magic and space things that I always turn off because I don't want that. But it gets it to a good point really quickly, and so it essentially just adds a bunch of EQ and compression that when tracking, it gets me to the point where people are like, yeah, my vocals sound good, you know. And so I usually just have those two on, and then if they want reverb, I'll set up a reverb on a send and then send it to that. Or I don't ever really need to do any more EQing than that. Rarely do we use like echo or whatever. It would usually just be a little bit of reverb. So here I would have just like sent it to the thing, and then we'll record all the vocals just through that. And I'll get them, you know, if they're doing ad-libs, maybe I'll get them to stand a little bit further back from the microphone. We'll mess around with all that.
Yeah. Double back to back, go sipping Merlot. I don't just echo, bitch, I'm ghetto. Zambia and Nico.
And then after we kind of record or we get a take that we're happy with, usually KV's pretty solid on getting. We'll go until we get a take that he's like, yeah, this is cool, and then we'll kind of move on to either the second verse or the chorus or whatever. And then when we listen back, if he's like, I don't like how I said that one, I'll go through the rest of the takes that I've recorded and see if there's another bit that I can just like put up into that. So it's like, I'm not really comping too much, but I'll comp if necessary.
Double back to back, go sipping Merlot. I don't just echo, bitch, I'm ghetto. Zambia and Nico, I'm a rebel. Playing with a hot chick like a cello, yeah. Double back to back, go sipping Merlot. I don't just echo, bitch, I'm ghetto. Zambia and Nico, I'm a rebel. Wow. Fresh bag on me right now. Throw it up while you bust down. I'm just trying to blow your back up.
But yeah, I mean, KV's been making music for so long, he kind of really understands his voice already.
Going for the rings. Double.
So I personally didn't really have to do too much like vocal production or I guess vocal direction. He kind of is telling me what he likes, and then I'll maybe suggest something to do. I think I was like, let's double track these.
Going for the rings. Double up my sins.
So you get like this kind of stereo thing, kind of works nicely.
Wow. Fresh bag on me right now.
And then I think this part, which is like the intro when it comes in, I think he was just like, let's unflatten that. I think he was, I think I had already distorted this prior to bringing it in. Yeah. But yeah, he would have just been like playing around with it like before the verse started, so he's just like getting the notes, and I would have just had that recorded and been like, oh, that could be cool here, and then I've just like fucked it up. So I think it was actually here. Is this the thing? Anyway, it's just the part where he's going. I don't know what that is. I love that. That's so sick. Let me try and I can show you how I got this sound. It's a pretty standard type thing that I usually do. So we can use this little thing. So there you go. There's a sound without any vocal auto-tune or anything on that. So to get that kind of like, it's almost like a synth. You definitely want to start with auto-tune on it. So same setting, 7, D minor. Right. She's fly in front of me. Ugh. And then this sounds like it was pitched, so maybe we pitch it. Oh, it's not warped. Let's warp it and then pitch it. Cool. And then I have this plugin that I like to use. It is the Waves Stomp Box. And usually it's designed for guitars. So it's like guitar pedals. But we all know that guitar pedals have cool effects. So usually I'll add a compressor. Pretty good. And then big boy fuzz. And then sometimes you can add the doubler, which is cool. But I think usually I'll keep it at that, and I'll add, there's this free plugin called Tell Chorus. It adds the chorus from the Juno series of Roland synthesizers, which is nice. We'll add that, and then what else have we got? I would have chopped that up. I just realized that. So I would have probably gotten a bunch of different takes of him going, and like this one, and like bunch of stuff, bunch of takes of him saying stuff, and then I would have like cut it up to make this line. You can hear at the end it goes up. I would have just got that part from somewhere else. Anyway, so this is where we're at. And then at that point you can kind of go one of two ways. You can go same thing, reverb with these sort of settings, and then I like to decapitate that afterwards, so you kind of get this distorted, saturated sound, but through the reverb. Because when you put it through the reverb, the volume kind of dips a bit, so you can really push this, and then you kind of get this nice. And you can mess with the driver, so you can make it sound a little bit more pleasant. Or you can do a similar thing, but with my other favorite Soundtoys plugin, Crystallizer, and have the same chorus start, and then you can put a decapitator on that, or even, why not, sometimes I use the where is overdrive, I'm blind, distortion. You can mess around with the and then maybe even on this crystallizer use less recycle, maybe less. There you go. Okay, similar vibe. And then any other scooping or like kind of difference you can just do with an EQ, where you want to, like, you know, get rid of all that. Get rid of some of the mids. And you got something very similar. Cool. Mamma Mia. I think that's it. That's the entire song, really. I don't really know.
Bust down, bust down. I'm just trying to blow you back out, back out. Wow, 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 wow. Fresh bag on me right now, right? Bag on me right.
Oh, there you go. There's a silent orchestra here.
Bag on me right now.
Yeah. I don't really know what to say about the other synthesizer stuff that I've done.
Right now, throw it up while you
Few wind chimes. This is kind of nice. A better.
Like wow, 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 wow. Fresh bag on me right now, right now. Throw it up while you bust down, bust down. I'm just trying to blow you back out, back out. Like, wow, 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 wow. Fresh bag on me right now, right now. Throw it up while you bust down, bust down. I'm just trying to blow you back out, back out. Like, see my ex thing hanging with a plan B. That way shooting after man I can be. Need Jessica, Olivia, and Ashley. Kelly's really out the window like a bench.
Do you have any comments or questions or anything like that you want me to kind of
see my ex thing hanging with a plan B. That way shooting after man I can be. Need Jessica, Olivia, and Ashley. Kelly's really out the window like a Banshee. Got him singing like a siren. Man, I'm shipwrecked, living on an island. Push down, I don't care about the timing. Always been perfect when the rush so blinding.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching.
In the end zone, I'm so close to my goals. In the end zone, Double back to back was even Merlot. I don't just act a bitch, I'm ghetto. Zambian Eagle, I'm a rebel.
Much love.
Playing with all things like a cello. Yeah. Double back to back was even Merlot. I don't just act a bitch, I'm ghetto. Zambian Eagle, I'm a rebel. Playing with all things like a cello. Yeah. Wow, 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 wow. Fresh bag on me right now, right now. Throw it up while you bust down, bust down. I'm just trying to blow you back out, back out. Wow, 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 wow. Fresh bag on me right now, right now. Throw it up while you bust down, bust down. I'm just trying to blow you back out, back out. See me coming for the win, coming for the heads and coming for the kid. Shit, but I'm coming for the king. Double on my stats, coming for the ring. Coming for the rings, double on my sins. Killing no sheep, fire on the beat. Bitch from the goat, take back roads. Bond with Spurs, bring ass hurt. Fuck living cautious, I'm lawless. Had to ride the wave, now they all sick. When I finally make it, yeah, we all did. Split the dividends and we all rich. Wow, 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 wow. Fresh bag on me right now. Throw it up while you bust